All right, welcome back. We appreciate you staying with us, and I took a little 2-minute break. Appreciate you being patient. And we have our satellites up and running. Let me just check any updates on text messages, and let's see. All right, I'm okay. We have let me just say this. Jason Serenier been in that control room as long as I've been on this desk. So, a lot of times that we get the credit because we're on the air. Harley Cortez has been on our web page for a long, long time, and I got crews out here working, and I appreciate each and every time we get in a situation like this. They put in a tremendous amount of time, and they need to be commended. Because their heart's in it too. They love this whole area. They love what's going on, and it's just what we do. And it's good to see a lot of other people who love our area too that participate. And our Doppler is back up, as you can tell. And let's see what the current. Let's bring it up to this time period, Jay, if we can. And there it is. So we're going to walk through these graphics, and we're going to take some phone calls. And while we're doing this, I want to give a shout out to Miss Evelyn Spearman, who is at Terrebonne General Medical Center, and her daughter just texted me, Jane, saying that she will not leave the channel. And of course, she never leaves our channel, and that's why I want to give her a shout out. She's recovering at Terrebonne General Medical Center, and I want to let her know that Sergeant Kyle Falk is also on the desk, and I know he paid her a visit the other day. So everybody cares about her, and we appreciate what she brings to the parish, and we certainly wish her well. These are all the satellite shots that are revamping. As you can tell, that circulation is on land now. It's west of Terrebonne Parish. So if we could move this thing along, and let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to move. If I could get resituated here. Right here is that center of circulation that has moved on shore. And I know people have been calling for me to use the stick, but okay, I'm not showing where the eye's going anymore. The eye's on land. So the stick works when it's out in the Gulf. I'm using the stick as a pointer though. These feeder bands right here are what keeps hammering us. And you got to be careful, tornadoes and all in this area, because they're spinning off friction. They're spinning off from the circulation, and that's what causes the rotation. However, you see these southerly winds that just keep coming and coming and coming. They're relentless. Once this progresses and it moves up, we get into what we want to get into basically are these winds. The dry air right here, and they're going to be coming out of the west. So it's going to help us in the sense that the southern winds relinquish, but we really want this thing up here to where these winds are knocking all that water back out. So that's what we're trying to get to knock all that water back out of the area. And then you can open up the floodgates and you can let some of that water out. The key is that these feeder bands do not pump a lot of rain, and we certainly do not want that to happen. I'm also told that Barry Bonvillain is in the HTV studios, and we're going to bring him on in a second. He's been through a lot of this for a number of years, so I think he's taken us up on the offer for everybody to come up here and shed a little wisdom. He's been involved in that for quite some time. Let's go through the satellites if we can, Jay, and just whatever you have, just throw it at me, and we'll begin to look at it. But there's our system where you see, it seems like Grand Isle has just been in the train effect for quite some time. And y'all could bring Barry on while I'm talking, Jay. It doesn't matter. We know how this thing works. When you're live, you just bring them on. Grand Isle has been in the training effect, Golden Meadow, Galliana. And it seems like they've been in situations where the training effect for them has just been a little harder than other areas. They've had a lot of rainfall in Grand Isle, more than I would say in Houma. They've had more relentless winds in Grand Isle. Hey Barry, welcome to the set. How you doing? And so you could see that camera shot the Gulf in the background is rough. And Kyle, you've been up here with me watching these shots. You got 4 layers of white capping back there, so the surf is definitely up in Grand Isle. They're going to have some erosion problems. They're going to have some rain, which they've been having. And, you know, I feel for Mayor David Cormerdale over there and he's been fighting a battle on these burrito levees out there, asking for rocks, but the sand has washed away and the burrito levees are bare. And I'm sure they're still working to an extent, but my God, how can you build a levee out of sand when water's all around it? So it washes out. So I guess he's been fighting the Corps for a long time, and he'll continue to fight the Corps. That's the floodgate in Golden Meadow. And the good news about this is the water hasn't gone up any in 2 hours. I've been keeping an eye on that. So that's a good thing. I'm going by that whaler on the side where the water's touching that whale in the bottom. Yesterday you could see daylight about 6 inches. Today you don't see any. So the water's going up about 8 inches total, but it has not risen since we've been on the air at 8 o'clock this morning, which is a good sign. Now look at Galliano. Here's what I'm talking about. You see the Grand Isle shot where the wind's blowing and Galliano looks calm. And so these feeder bands, if you get in the training effect, you get it. But if you tuck away in some of these parts that, now as it shifts and it gets on land, they may get some rain, but then they get lucky because once the moisture is pulled out of that circulation, they don't get as much. Not saying Galliano hadn't gotten any rain. That'd be a foolish statement. They just haven't got as much as Grand Isle per se. Grand Isle's been right in that training effect. So with that said, Jay, do we have any other camera? How's Assumption doing? Not sure. Okay, he'll pull that up in a second. Just we don't want to forget our neighbors in Assumption. While he's doing that, Barry Bonvillain has joined us on the set here at Barry, we appreciate you dropping by. You've been out and about?
Yes, sir. Been out and about all throughout the parish, Martin, and trying to see what improvements I can make next year, you know, in some of our systems.
You had to bring some rain. The minute you sit in the desk, I hear a squall over us, but that's okay.
Well, when I was even trying to walk yesterday, I brought some rain with me also.
Look at that's outside the HCV studios right now. You can see just another squall. And Barry, you've been familiar with the drainage over the years. Matter of fact, I was on the desk when you went through Hurricane Andrew years ago, and so you're familiar with the situation. This is a worse nightmare for an area because you have that surge and that southern wind, and you have a tremendous amount of rainfall, so you sort of, and you're fighting it from both ends, and you're almost recirculating water. What's your take on that?
Warren, this reminds me so much of Hurricane Juan. I think Bubba Lyons was the parish president at that particular time. I was on the council with him. But let me say one thing before we go any further. I'm not knocking I've been accused of knocking my opponent's sign down and other people's sign. Well, it's not me. I found out today that there was a guy named Lee that's knocking them down, okay?
Okay.
Which is the hurricane, okay?
All right. Okay.
Not me. Anyway, let's get back to what was your original question?
All right,
okay,
so you have your southern flow coming in, which is going to be a while because you're right, it is a one, it's camped out, it's not moving, and then you have a heavy rainfall that's hitting you on the northern side of all these floodgates. So, to give you an example, Reggie Dupre, or even our current parish president, they're fighting that battle of two things that fight each other, so to speak. So that's the thing. You almost have to. One has to relinquish itself before the other one can overpower.
That's right. As long as both of them continue, Martin, that's really, your hands are tied. There's really nothing you can really do about it. The water's coming down, from the top. That affects the whole parish, and like mostly in the southern part of the parish, water's coming in. I just passed by East Park when I went over to East Park a while ago, and I know that the water is coming out of Bayou Terrebonne, at the base of the Deckville Bridge through one of the culverts, and that reminded me of Ike. Ike came up pretty high. But I went and visited several pump stations. I got calls. People wanted me to open up the shelter. And at the time, I said, we'll wait till the next day. But then they opened up a shelter at East Home Recreation Center on Boundary Road. And as long as they had one that was on the east side, we wasn't going to open ours up. And we got calls, and we also referred the people to go to the gym on Boundary Road. And Martin, I had Andrew, like you mentioned. It was the worst hurricane in 25 years that ever hit this parish, and probably equal to what Gustav was, I guess. Pretty close.
Two pretty bad ones, yeah.
And violent wind, tremendous surge. I think Andrew had a 20-foot surge that hit. I knew some camps that were 20 feet up in the air. And you can see what the damage was done from the surge coming in from Andrew. Yeah. Wiped out everything that I could see, almost every camp. But anyway, you have to learn one thing. I'm a politician, I guess. I'm not going to say I'm a politician because I was elected official. As people say, they're not politicians, they're elected officials. I look in the dictionary and says anybody that holds public office is a politician. So all this, let's talk about
we say politics. Public servant sometimes.
Well, you can say whatever you want, it's still politics.
You're right, no doubt.
And politics of the past, I can look at things that Bubba Line has done. I look at things that Teddy Dewey has done. I looked at things that I have done. I looked at things that Bobby Badgeroy has done. I looked at things that Don Schwab has done, and certainly I'm looking at the non-political Mr. Claudette has done. Mm-hmm. All of these things, you learn something. Everyone learns something from each other. Teddy, for example, had the May flood of '91,
right?
Which, man, I went to Gibson and water was waist deep. I went to Savannah Road, water was waist deep. Mm-hmm. I went to back of Williams Avenue, that big levee there on the St. Louis Canal, which is part of the 11B project.
6-foot ditch.
Right, the 6-foot ditch.
Mm-hmm.
Water with a baseball field, water was 6 foot deep. If that levee would have broke, from New Orleans Boulevard to Morrison Avenue would have flooded.
I was working camera for that. I remember it very vividly. But even before that, Bubby had Hurricane Juan, like you said, in '85.
That is correct. And I guess what I learned from Teddy and Bubba was the need for 11B project, which thank God we have that. I don't know what we'd be going through right now without the 11B project. And you have to remember, 11B was built, I think, in the late 90s, but these systems has to be maintained. You can't just build a system and forget about it. These levels have to be completely refurbished. You got to keep checking out the equipment, your pumps. And 11B drains everything from Bayou Terrebonne to Bayou Blue, from the Intracoastal Canal all the way to Shreveport. From Shreveport, it comes through the CCD ditch, which feeds into the St. Louis Canal and drains all that area. Now, you have a lot of development that's been going on in that area. Mm-hmm. So we may have to look at increasing the pump capacity or put some auxiliary pumps into a system, to start pumping.
And and I'm glad you bring it up that way, Barry, because each parish president has learned from the other parish president, and hopefully 10 years from now, 12 years from now, the parish presidents will have progressed and keep progressing. So, it's if we don't learn and we go backwards, then shame on us. But it is a continuing education, so to speak, isn't it?
Well, certainly, because the geography of the parish, it changes so much, especially the southern part of the parish, we're losing so much land. We talk about levees. Levees are fine and good. We need some high levees. But the biggest thing that's going to save this parish is the barge, is the Bubba Dove lock system, barge system, and the floodgate at Grand Isle Bayou. And also a floodgate, and I'm not sure, I was told they were going to do this, then I told they wasn't going to do this. If they don't put a floodgate connecting the Brady Road levee, and the fourth drainage system on the north side of Falgout Canal and put a system there, you still got an open system because the water is going to come from the west, and it's going to go down by the lodge, and it's going to come on into the ship channel, etc. But the major thing that has to be done is the lock and those 3 floodgates there. You also need a floodgate at Company Canal and Bird, because intercoastal, that's what's feeding water down
I think
to
Reggie was talking
Montague
about
right
that
now.
this morning. And while we have you here, let me bring the sheriff on also to join in this conversation. The sheriff of Assumption Parish. How you doing, Sheriff?
Doing fine, Martin. How are you?
Good. How are things going over there in your neck of the woods? And tell me some of the good points about it and some of the bottlenecks.
Well, it's not too bad. We do have some street flooding. Area of Highway 400, just off of Highway 1 south of Napoleonville, is accumulating some water. It's a real slow drain area. Dagg Street's accumulating water in the Belrose area. But other than that, Bayou Lewis and Care Park, some of the more low-lying areas, the pumps are keeping up. They're doing well. Fortunately, the bands haven't created any monster deluges, so everybody's keeping up. The public's been great. Really, no major complaints. A few power lines down, but Energy and Slick has been doing a good job of reacting to that.
Well, let me ask you this, Sheriff, where I guess back it sounds to me, and I think you hit the nail on the head, that these feeder bands that have been coming off of this system, at least for the most part, have not created a tremendous amount of rainfall. We have some rainfall, but I remember yesterday you had a couple of them that dropped a whole bunch of water, so that's the key here.
Yes, it is, and we've had worse weather this morning as far as the wind is concerned and steady rain. But I tell you, we're maxed out. We can't handle much more. The cane fields are full. They're draining into the major drainage canals and ditches are full. It's a slow crawl to Lake Barrett or Bayou Lafourche. Bayou Lafourche is the highest I've ever really seen it. I'm not sure if there's a obstruction down the bayou or whatnot. Maybe with the vegetation that's overgrown. But so far we're hanging in there. But another 3-4 inches of rain, we may have some trouble.
Yeah, and I tell you what, we're looking at one of the tributaries. I'm not sure where that camera is positioned, but we're looking over. That's okay. So the water's high. You're right. There's no way around it. It's high everywhere, and the ground is saturated. So we can't take a whole lot more rain. So we're praying, and we hope Mother Nature moves this thing out of here and gets it out.
Well, I appreciate your concern, Martin. Thanks for checking in with us. And if anything changes, we'll call back and give you an update.
Thank you, Sheriff. We appreciate you. Joining me now on the phone is Parish President of Lafourche Parish, Charlotte Randolph. How you doing, Charlotte?
Good, thank you, Martin. It's appropriate that I follow Assumption Parish because he was talking about Bayou Lafourche.
Yeah.
There are no obstructions. There have just been a lot of rain, and the rain is accumulating in the bayou from one end to the other. So, until this subsides some, we're going to see the bayou higher than we've seen it. He's right.
Yeah, you also got a double whammy because it looks like the tides are trying to move out somewhere around 3:30, but as long as you got that south wind pushing it, it's creating a false tide for you.
That's correct. And with all the arteries out there, whether we're talking about the Intercoastal or Hollywood Canal or any of the other areas, it's pushing in from all directions.
And also, I'm looking at your floodgate in Golden Meadow. It looks like it's holding pretty good. It may have fluctuated 2 to 3 inches, but that's all I can see. Are you getting any different information?
No.
Right.
It's staying steady at that point, yes.
Well, that's a good sign anyway. I would think with all this south wind that it would just be coming in, but that sort of baffles me that it hasn't. Maybe it is fighting the tidal movement and they're neutralizing each other.
Well, that indicates the unpredictability of the situation. What you would expect to happen is not what's happening.
You're right. From day one of this thing.
Yeah. We've had now Berg Highway is closed because of the water that's on that road. The LaRose Bridge, the pontoon bridge, the state bridge is closed now. In addition to other areas that we're watching very carefully, Bayou Blue Bridge is closed. This high water is just playing havoc, aside from the rain, aside from the from the wind. You know, it's rising in some areas too.
Yeah, where have you received the most saturation of rain in your parish, Charlotte?
We're working on statistics now. Certainly in the EOC, we have people from other agencies such as the Corps of Engineer and the Sheriff's Office and all that, and we're getting totals now. They keep updating them. It's a matter of what time of day you're talking about and the latest squall information. Because it's you know, Thibodeau area is certainly getting quite a bit. The Zalmans, we just put an additional layer of sandbags on top of the sandbags we had there already because the water was rising there too.
You know, one good sign, I'm looking at this floodgate shot, I saw birds flying, and I've noticed over 25 years of covering storms, when birds are flying, maybe that's a sign of good things to come. Because you don't see them during the heart of it, I promise you that.
No, and but of course we saw that yesterday too.
Yeah, yeah, but they were in between the bands. I think they picking the fly, you know.
Yeah,
but
we saw
hopefully
that yesterday afternoon and felt a little bit easier, and then realized by late evening that was not how things were going to turn out.
Yeah, but this thing really tried, and we do have the mayor of Grand Isle too. And I'm going to tell Jason just to ask him to be patient. I want to ask Charlotte this. And Barry, while you're up here too, the circulation of this storm was really trying to get its act together this morning, and it completed that southern circulation. I think if this thing would have been out a little further, it would have really tried to become a stronger storm quickly.
Yeah, I think it moving to the west was, I hesitate to say a good thing, but at least it moving to the west, it kind of moves into that shearing area, the drier air, and that may have reduced it somewhat or diminished it somewhat. But the bands are still out there. I just got off a conference call with parish presidents in the region, and Plaquemine and Grand Isle are really bearing the brunt of it right now.
You know, it doesn't matter what parish president I bring on from what area, and of course Barry's sitting here right now and I'm talking to you. Every parish president, and I think I've been through 6 or 7 of them since I've been open, has cut their teeth on one pretty good one. Barry had Andrew, you've had a few naturally, and everybody has them. So, but this one has been a quirky little devil, and nobody can put their finger on this one.
Well, it's certainly the worst part of it has been so long lasting. The upside to it is the fact that we've not had any loss of life,
right? Not
any major damage to homes, which is the good part of it.
Yeah.
We can endure some water as long as it doesn't get into people's homes, and as long as people don't get out into the water. Few little power outages here and there, and they're being addressed. So, you know, for the most part, it's been something that we can handle.
Yeah, and I appreciate you joining us, Charlotte. What's the long-term you look like you're probably in this for another 36 to 48 hours, huh?
Well, we're thinking tomorrow, but what time tomorrow, we don't know.
Yeah.
This was very fortunate that it happened on a long holiday weekend, too, where we were able to gather people who needed to be working, and then the people who weren't working were staying home. So it's been a cooperative effort among many people right now. Well,
certainly we appreciate you joining us again, and we'll stay in touch with you, and good luck with your parish.
Great. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. And what line is the mayor on, Jason? We're joined now by Mayor Cormadale from Grand Isle. And Mayor, since I last talked to you, I don't know if it's your luck or not this week, but that band seems to be staying right over Grand Isle.
Oh, it don't stop, Martin. We're just early morning hours where we kind of watch it through the night, and we seen the moon come out, glaring over the Gulf, and then all of a sudden all hell broke loose this morning, and back to ground zero again for a little while. You know, it was blowing pretty tough, man. It was amazing, the wind shears that were cutting across Chenier, Caminada, all the way coming through Grand Isle, coming out the west.
Oh,
I wanted to fall this morning.
Yeah, we saw them earlier. We were watching the sheets of wind come across these rooftops. But let me ask you, those burrito levees, it's got to have taken its toll on your sand around that thing. I'm sure there's nothing left to it.
Well, let me kind of clear things up. The burrito levees is still buried underneath the levees. What we have right here, we have a geotube that we put in. It's kind of like taking your nylon sock and you fill it up with sand and take the water off. It's in the middle of the center of the levee. And I always try to put clay mud in there because, it get hard like cement, but they put sand inside the geotubes.
Okay.
And the geotubes are still together,
right?
But there's no sand in the front of them.
Yeah, there's no cosmetics to it.
Exactly. Exactly. And my problem with that is I was just trying to save more of the sand to protect the geotube in case. Let me tell you, if some object would cut this geotube, this plastic sock, it'll pour out. And I've seen it in Galveston, and that was my beef to go ahead and put clay mud because, where I got clay mud in 1993, you still got the bulldozer mark. That's how much it packed and it got hard.
Right.
So I'm just watching this geotube. If it punctures, if anything punctures, it just pours out like sugar in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico.
I'm gonna get Jason to pull up the radar too, so I could see. But you've been on that training effect for quite some time. But it looks like, let me see where you're right now. The worst of it's moved east of it, so you're getting a little break now, according to our camera. But a while ago, it was coming down pretty good on you.
Right. And what we do, we got all our crew out. In fact, right now, I just got a report. I'm back with my backhoes. This morning I met with all my supervisors, all my employees, and I sent a crew, the sheriff from Jefferson Parish sent some high water trucks and fire department guys. Got a couple of trucks, so we got 5 trucks running on LE1. They just crossed the Leeville Bridge. My backhoe cleaned from Grand Isle to the Leeville Bridge. There's some water on it, but there's a lot of debris. Now he's in the front of right there around Griffin's. There's a lot of water on the road. We come with some high trucks to pick. We're going to pick up, I think, a total of 6 pumps. We're going to put them on top of the trucks in the back of the beds and bring them so we can continue pumping out our reservoir in Grand Isle.
Yeah. Do you ever sleep?
No, believe it or not, I think we slept for about an hour, maybe not even an hour, but we've been hitting it hard, and my crews, when we get a chance, we eat a little bit, and we take turns, and we sleep on the chairs and the sofas, whatever we got to do. But we got to pump these people out, and between Lafourche Parish and Jefferson Parish, even Terrebonne Parish, we're all going to work like brothers and sisters to take care of each other.
Yeah, and I see you still have water. What's the water level on the streets again compared? And I see you getting a little wind over there right now.
Yeah, I feel it. I'm in the office. I'm right here. I'm looking at you in the camera right now, and
okay.
I'm watching you just like your cameras. I'm on the back side. But
what's that water level on that street right on the side of that tractor?
Well, no, it was yesterday. They had about 2 feet of water. Now it's down toward the Catholic Church. So we got 2 more tractor pumps we put in last night. So we got a total between I'd say Orange Street, which is Sandy Lane right next door. You got Orange Street all the way to, I'd say I got a total of 8 pumps right now. I'm pumping the heart of the island.
Yeah.
And then I got about a total of 15 pumps scattered all over the island in Chenier. Also, I got 6 more pumps coming in from Jefferson Parish. They've been sitting there for about 2 hours at the floodgate. And we said, I got my guys riled up, and they said, we're going to get there, and we got these high water trucks, and we're coming to get these pumps. And we're going to come back and put them in place. So God says the same, and we get this weather, this feeder band, and stop raining a little bit, we can have our people going back to their homes, pretty quick.
Well, we're going to keep an eye on you on this tower cam. It looks like that surf's still a little rough in the background.
Yes, sir. In fact, I'm fixing to leave out the office and go take a ride and look at the geotubes, and hopefully. And more, let me say this. I was just on a conference call with Charlotte, with the mayor from Mitch Landrieu and Kevin Davis and all. We're learning every day, and let me tell you, this little storm right here is kind of one of the worst ones for all elected officials, to try to call the shots right. And Charlotte was right. We never lost a life, and everybody working closely together. Mitch Landrieu put a little conference together where we learning. And let me tell you, we got a Nextel tower. In fact, the tower your camera's on right here. Right. We got a bunch of communication on, but they ain't no communication so far that look like when electricity goes out, everything goes out. So my main beef right now is the next meetings I want to hold is to get somebody, you know, we can send a man to the moon and talk to him, but from Grand Isle to Plaquemine to Billy or Charlotte, even Charlotte, I can't call her unless I'm on a land phone.
Wow.
But the cell phones don't work here, and Verizon sends some phones, and I gave one to each one of my working my councilmen, and we trying them now. But
well, you know
I'm still waiting on the Nextel representative.
You know, we have a line coming down from that camera where we can transmit audio. I'm gonna ask Jason if there's some way to patch you in, and maybe you could be patched through somewhere else.
Yeah, I tell you what, I need somebody that knows about communication, because I tell you what, it's terrible. You know, the phones went out yesterday. It only worked in the western part of the island, and I went through that Katrina, and I swore I threw 4 phones off the bridge for Katrina, and it's frustrating. I had many calls that I couldn't get through, so you know, I'm just frustrated. You know, Nextel was supposed to send a representative yesterday at 3 o'clock. We called at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still waiting on the guy. So you know, all my workers, my beep beeps don't work, and it's terrible. And I don't mind saying it on the air because you know, it's a shame. But I tell you what, any salesman wants to come to Grand Isle, you better have his shit together. I'm gonna tell you straight up. You better have his stuff together, because I don't mean talking like that, but I just want a better communication so I can get my word out, and where I can get my people like you and everybody else want to help us. You know, now we'll improve things.
Well, we'll give you a pass on that. I know you're frustrated, and it's a time of need, so
I apologize.
No, I mean, we understand your frustration, Mayor, so yeah, I guarantee you that they just heard you, that's for sure.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Okay, Mayor, take care of yourself.
All right.
And you know, I got to say this, and Colin, Barry, y'all been in this many times, and Mr. Claudet's been in it, and we've been in it. You get frustrated sometimes, and you can't hold it back. Barry, you know, you've been in it before, and sometimes you want people to hear you, so you elevate. And I think that's where he's at right now over there in Grand Isle.
I remember one time I got so frustrated, I just walked in the closet and just started screaming. You know, got it out of my system anyway.
Yeah, Lord, but it's, you know, it's unfortunate, but I feel his pain. He's fighting the Corps, trying to get rocks around his levees, fighting communications. So I'm gonna ask Jason if there's a way to plug him into our audio. You know, feel free to let him know any way we can help him out over there and try to get him done. And Barry, just in closing, you've been through, like I said, a few of these, and just some encouragement for the people in the next couple of days, what they can expect.
Well, I think you're going to see certainly a cleanup. It's going to be the first thing that's going to come down. Everybody gets back to their houses. I understand there's not that very many people that are in shelters. And then you'll just regroup and get your equipment back in shape again, especially your pump station. Your pumps, you got to be checking these pumps, you know, on a regular basis. More than I can remember, like the Smith Ridge pump station, I was getting ready to go somewhere, and the drainage superintendent called me up, and I went over there. We had to shut it down because it was getting ready to collapse. But within 48 hours, we built a makeshift one. Then we had to rebuild that stage for about $1 million.
Right.
We had to rebuild the Woodlawn Ranch Road subdivision, which is 10 48-inch pumps. And when I called the other day, 2 of them wasn't running, but I saw Councilman Tillman, and he called Mr. Blanchard. I talked to Mr. Blanchard and said, I think they got them back online. But I think the thing, then also Ashland North. We did a system in Ashland North in-house. And Mr. Lindeen, who owned the subdivision, donated the 2 pumps. Mm-hmm. Nothing has been done since then. Nothing has been done to that system since. The levees could be elevated, and we were able to get a right away from Old Man Lewis' side. Mm-hmm. Luckily for the back part. But you know, it's so frustrating. You know, nothing you can really do other than hope that the pump can keep up. Thank God yesterday we had that break-in with that dry air coming into that system. I think that allowed all of the pump stations to
catch up. Yeah.
Catch up, right.
Yeah.
I know. I went out this morning in some of the areas looking at the concrete line ditch in Bayou Sally, Bayou Chauvin. The water level was a lot lower than it was yesterday. Certainly there was no water in Senator Circle. There was no water in Woodlawn Ranch Road. And it looked like the pumps really did a good job catching up.
Let's do this, and while we have you, before we go to break, bring that water vapor back up, Jay. Just saw something very interesting on that water vapor. if we could bring it up behind me. Look as it progresses. You see the dry air was pulling in? Look how it closes off now. This storm, there's no doubt, was trying to get its act together and was completing circulation. Thank God that dry air was here for the most part. And see right here, a lot of dry air, chokes it off. This storm was really trying to get its act together as it made landfall. And we do have to take a break. I'm gonna come back to a ton of phone calls. Barry, thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate it. And Kyle will get an update from you on the streets as soon as we come back. And we're going to the public. Don't go away. Thank you.